Welcome, Danny, to Metallarium Pages. This is a tremendous pleasure to talk with you about Malignancy, this new album Discontinued, and many other things related to the metal world. So we'll start by asking, how are you? How was the band in recent years?
I'm doing all right. I'm here. I'm alive. So that's all right. The band, we just been doing, what we can, playing shows, festivals. We did a tour last year with Defeated Sanity in the beginning of the year, and then around the summer we did a European tour. And now we're just kind of going with the flow. We're riding the tails of this new album coming out, or actually just got released yesterday. So, just been sitting back reading reviews. Um, and just hearing what people have to say about it. So far this response has been pretty positive.
I understand. So, Discontinued is an album that comes after 12 years of absence from albums with the band. Tell me, what did it take the band 12 years to release a new album? Because I saw them a little actively, as you mentioned, they play live, sometimes in Colombia and other countries. But the album delayed 12 years. 12 years.
But see, here's the thing. We put out releases. I don't know why the mass media has to always ignore an EP or a 7-inch release. It's brand new music. It's still new music. We released Epilogue, which was the follow-up to Eugenics, which was like the last part of that story, because that whole album told a story. So Epilogue was the end of that story. And then we released Malignant Future a few years later by ourselves, and then it got re-released by Severed Records. And then we re-recorded Intrauterine Cannibalism because we had to, because we wanted to, for the 20th anniversary, to give it a special treatment because the production value was a little lower than today's standards. So we wanted to pump it up. Unfortunately, the original tapes were missing. So we had to re-record it, and we figured, well, we got a new band anyway, at least 2 different members. So let's just re-record it and put it out. And that's what we did. But, we did release new stuff. It's just it wasn't in full length form. So everybody thinks that we weren't doing anything for 12 years, which was not necessarily true. I mean, the material on Discontinued is 6 years old. That
Mhm.
stuff was written with Malignant Future. We wrote that whole album 6 years ago. And then we put out 3 songs from Malignant Future to try to drum up more interest from bigger labels, and nobody really cared. So we said whatever, we let it go, and that was that. And then due to different schedules, our drummer Mike lives in California now. He moved there 5 years ago. So it became this big problem of us trying to find time to record it. And then by the time Mike was ready to record it, Ron had forgotten all his riffs, so he had to relearn all the songs again. I didn't have any lyrics written, so I had to write lyrics and all that other stuff. So it was one of those things that, the music was always there, but it took us so long because Mike was in Fear Factory for a while, touring a lot, and then he joined Raven, also tours a lot. So it's just one of those things where I mean, we're a band that this is not our career. This is for fun.
Mm.
So we put out things when we can, and it's, quality over quantity sometimes, I think is better. I would rather us have 4 years off from putting out a record or longer than put out 3 albums in 4 years and 2 of them are okay, or all 3 are like I mean,
Mm.
I just like to I'd like us to have the coolest stuff that we can, you know what I mean?
Mm. Okay. Okay. Oh, you mentioned one thing about especially for this discontinue, and speaking a little more about this album, one of the most striking details of the album is the name of the album, because it fits with the
Yeah.
concept that the band present this album after 12 years, 1 minute, and the other hand is within the music. You try to take a concept from eugenics and a composition level, but at the same time you take out the band for other more abstract places in this new album. So could you tell
Mhm.
us more about the lyrical concept of the album and its title, obviously?
Yeah, the title discontinued is all right. So there's three dots in front of it. So that in the English language, that means you can put words there, or there's words that are supposed to be there, but you don't have to spell them out. So to me, it's kind of like for the fans, well, discontinued. What's discontinued? For me, it's humanity discontinued because the creature is holding the last human probably in her in her tentacles, and you see all the all our broken cell phones all around and everything, because that's just what I feel. That's where we're going. It's just we care more about technology than doing other more important things. And a lot of the lyrical content has to do with our extreme uh, fixation with technology and I watch people sit eating dinner together and they're all on their phone and they're not even looking at each other in the eye. And that's in America. I don't know if that is worldwide yet, but it's getting there. And it's just one of those things that I just wrote a lot about things that I normally don't.
Mhm.
Usually I would write about gross stuff or disease and things like that. That's what I did earlier on. And then I just started to progress with writing stuff that I saw because it bothered me. So I said, well, why don't I just put it on paper and then growl it and see if people like it?
Okay, okay. Focus on a little more on the reissue of the intra-touring cannibalism. For
Uh-huh.
me, it was something curious to see
Yeah.
in promotions for all edition on CDs, because that album was a monstrosity of an album in that year,
Yeah.
1991. No, sorry,
Yeah.
1999.
Yes.
So why carry out this project to re-record in the sun? How was the reception of this album into the brutal death metal community? Because for me, I always prefer
Oh
the
yeah.
first because
Of
I
course.
love them.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I'm with you on that. The problem, like I said, is our original tapes. The recordings were missing. They were gone. Nobody had them, and we wanted to just do a remix and a mastering for the original 1999 version. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that. We didn't have any of that stuff. So we decided let's just re-record it with today's technology. It'll be the proper levels it should be, and that's that. And it was fun. It was fun to go down that memory because that year, all we played every show was Intrauterine Cannibalism songs. We played the whole album and we played Motivated by Hunger right after it. So we had like a 16 or 17 song set that we played every time, for that whole 20th year. So that was what we did 5 years ago. And it was just something. The response was fine. I mean, there's a lot of new kids that are into music now that never even heard of Intrauterine Cannibalism or United Guttural Records or anything. So when they see this, they said, "Oh, cool, an album of a band I never heard of," and they picked it up. And as far as I know, it did good. And what I tried to do was not take away from the original. So it was a two-disc set. So for $12, you get the original and then you get the re-recording. And you get both covers. So you can flip to the old version or you can flip to the newer version, whatever you want, just so that there's a respect for the original because we always respected that. I mean, Ron, me, Desmond, Roger, we all had a great time recording that record. All that is a culmination of all our demo material anyway. So it was great to just go back down memory lane and kind of spruce songs up a little bit. Not that they needed anything, because I think they were perfect the way they were, but different. Mike takes drums a little bit differently, so he added some extra stuff that he wanted to put in it because he'd been playing the song since 2004. So, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to put a little pizzazz here. Ron would put a little extra. I might do something different with my vocals, just something like that. It wasn't to try to gouge, or anything like that, or it wasn't like the label had it tied up so that we couldn't re-release it or anything like that. Because a lot of bands do re-record old albums because of problems like that with labels because they don't have the rights to do it. But for us, we just had to. It was a necessity. And we want to put Intrauterine out again, the original. But, you know, I'd love to just get because the audio is like here. And today you put on a demo band and the audio is like this, so it's
Yeah.
like, it's crazy. It's like, I wanted to be able to compare.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, for me, it's so different also. So, being a band with a very varied and abstract sounds in your music, how do you see the issue of labels? Fans and media always try to label bands and start playing with words like symphonic, black, death, thrash,
Oh,
progressive. I don't know. A lot of
yep.
labels appears
Uh-huh.
now. So, how do you describe yourselves in your sound, especially in this new discontinued? Because for me, it's brutal death metal, as I know since the beginning, Malignancy.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, we're death metal. We always have been. The brutal part just happens, and that's just another adjective that people like to put in front of it. And then we started getting technical. Like after Intrauterine, our music got a little bit more technical, and so we would just be technical death metal, but we're really not technical death metal according to what it is today. It's, tuned
Mm,
to E and very just all over the place. And we still we're death metal and we want to just, I mean, the style of music is just supposed to be anger and, just
yeah.
like, this is our frustration. We had a bad day at work. We're writing a song. We don't want to punch somebody in the face. We just want to fucking go crazy on the guitar or go crazy on the drums and that kind of thing. And today, there's too many labels for everything. I think our society has just grown into this thing where we have to all this minutia and break everything down to every little thing. It's just I don't know. I don't really agree with all of it. I mean, even when we were growing up, there was heavy metal, but then there was thrash metal, then there was speed metal, then death metal happened. Then now it's just I don't even know any of the new terms of what's what anymore because it's just like I don't even listen to that style anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, or listen to the style of these new bands that are, I don't know, crazy, all this. I'm like, dude, whatever, man. Is it death metal? Yes. All right, cool.
Oh, okay, okay. Focusing a little more on the band's albums since intrauterine cannibalisms, something that seems very curious to me with the four albums that the band has is the release time between each one. From 1991 to 2007, it has it is 8 years. Oh, it is 8 years. 8 years. Then for the third album, you took 5 years to release the album, and now you release 12 years later. Even you told me that you have previously EPs. That's normally for a lot of bands. So, what are the reasons why the band takes these periods of time to release albums, and why is there also with the previous answer that you provide me? So, why is there this predilection to releasing EPs because you have more than 3 or 4 EPs?
Well, because it's new music and it's hot and like motivated when it came out. That came out a year later. It came out in 2000, and we just had these songs. We had an old demo song on there too. So we're like, let's just put it out. Let's just get it out. And we were gonna tour. So we wanted to have more songs to play on the tour. So our first tour was with Mortician and Goat in 2000. So we were just like, let's rush this out so we have something extra. So we have two albums out and we have shirt designs and all this stuff so we can just, have a great time and just push more material. Because back then it was more about pushing new songs and having new songs than having a full length. I just don't understand this concept of where bands get flack because they take time to record a record. As I said, this is not my career. I have a real career, a real job. I can't be, on these tour cycles and all this other stuff to push this stuff. And Pro Species was supposed to be a full length album, but unfortunately, Roger had to leave, and we only had this half album. Half of the album was written, so it became an EP because we didn't want to have Mike come in and write the next half of the album. It wouldn't have made sense. It would have been very weird because his style and Roger's style were a little far removed. Roger comes from a guitarist background, so he approached drumming as a guitarist, where Mike is just a drummer. So he was approaching it from a drum standpoint, and it would have been a weird mixed bag album, and we didn't want to do that. We figure Roger's awesome. Let's just put out Cross Species so that we have all this material with him, and then we can move on with Mike. And with Mike, we taught him for a whole year before we played shows with him because he was not at the level he needed to be at to play for us. So we just took a year off. We didn't care. Well, what are we going to do? And then we put out a promo CD for the label. Willow Tip signed us. And then it was just a matter of booking studio time and going in the studio and getting stuff done. So from 1999, we did 2000, and then Cross Species 2003, and then 2005 was the promo. And then 2007 is when it actually came out because, again, when you give a label the material, they're going to tell you when they're going to put it out. And we probably took about a year and a half to write the rest of that album after we had 3 songs, and Willow Tip wanted to sign us based on those 3 songs. So then we took our time and wrote the album properly because I love that record. You know, it's extremely technical, probably our most technical album that we've ever released. And we just wanted it to be right. I mean, same with the artwork too. I mean, we worked with Tony Cole, and it's like a 3-panel huge piece of art that cost us quite a bit of money. And it's amazing though, because it's just a different part of it's a new chapter in Malignancy's history. So we wanted to make sure that it lived up to the name because a lot of people were looking at us because Roger wasn't in the band anymore. And he was such a driving force in the band in the very beginning that we had to make sure that this album came back with a punch, and it did. And then
Oh yeah.
after that, Eugenics, you know, again, we took our time, and it was a story. I wrote a whole story based on that. So that album, each song is in order. It's not a story like you're reading a novel. It's more like entries in an encyclopedia where you're a history book where you're reading back on something that happened. That's the way I wrote it. I didn't write it with characters and things like that. It was just like a broad overview of what I think is going to happen
Mm.
in years to come. So
Okay, okay. Another detail in the history of the band is that you were born in 1992. I remember listening to your demos from the 90s because I'm from the 80s,
yeah.
and your first album arrived. And the curious thing, the first album arrived in 1999. This
Mm.
curious fact, because for bands from the United States or Europe, it was much easier to release a first album compared to Latin America countries, where releasing
Mm.
an album in the 80s or 90s was problematic here. So,
Yeah.
that's why many bands from those years released their first albums in the late 90s or thousands. I knew a band released here his it's they their first album in 2022. So
Yeah.
2020. So that's amazing for Latin America. That's normally in Latin America. But
Yeah.
for me, it's curious to know a band in US and Europe released
All
seven
right.
years their first album.
I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
Well, we started in 92. We didn't put out a new demo. We didn't put out our first demo till 93. And
Mhm.
then we had some lineup changes in 94, 95. It was just me and Roger at one point, and we had to assemble a band. So by 96, we had Ronnie and Desmond. So then we're like, all right, let's get to writing. So we wrote stuff and we put out the 97 demo. And at this time, death metal was down the
Yeah.
toilet. Death metal started out strong and then dived just as fast. So there were no labels that wanted to sign any death metal bands. It was all that new machine head shit and all that crap that I can't stand that fucked death metal. Death metal, well, actually, that style of music didn't fuck death metal. The labels screwed death metal because they refused to sign us. And they refused to sign anybody. All the bigger labels didn't give a shit anymore. They got rid of all their death metal bands. They did the same thing to thrash. Labels killed thrash for many years because they thought death metal was the new thing that was gonna make them money. And here we go. Now everything's full circle. Thrash is back. Death metal never died. It did die for a little while, but now it's back stronger than ever. Metal in general, I think, is just a genre that will never die because it's just we're all like too fucking stubborn to quit, and we'll find a way to make music, and that's just the way it is, and I love that. So we couldn't get a deal with any labels. And the reason why we got United Guttural is because Mortician toured with Flesh Grind, and Rich from Flesh Grind was like, "Hey, I got this new label, and what's up?" And Roger was like, "What's up? You want to sign us?" And he's like, "Yeah, let me hear the demo." So we gave him the demo, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And that's how we got the deal. We gave him a promo CD too from '98 that we recorded, which was basically our '97 demo plus extra songs for the CD. And he was like, let's do it. So that's why it took us so long. It was lineup problems, and then labels didn't care. We weren't lucky enough to get on Century Media and Roadrunner and Nuclear Blast and Earache when all those labels were just huge into the death metal scene and just blazing new trails for music. We weren't old enough yet, I guess, and we didn't get any notice because at the time, I mean, not for nothing, our music was not up to par with what was going on. I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit, the bands that were coming out then, Deicide, Malevolent, Obituary, those are all top-notch death metal bands that are still around today, still kicking ass. And we were playing stuff that was not, it was kind of just simplistic because we were high school kids, we didn't really have the intellect or the musicianship to go that extra mile and put something out that great. It took us a little time. So, by the time 98 rolled around, we were ready to go with an album. And luckily we found United Guttural.
Oh, yeah. Well, awesome. So Malignancy is one of the few bands within the brutal death metal that has a personal sound and cannot be compared with many other bands. And you always took the brutal sound to a more abstract and formless side. So, but
Mm,
now there are many bands in the world that make technical, progressive, experimental, I don't know, details
yeah.
or other calisthenic ideas with the instruments. So for
Yeah.
you, what was the process like to seeing the technical since the late 90s with your influence and now seeing many bands that want to be more technical or faster on the social networks or social media? It's good
Okay.
or it's bad for to have this technical concept without that brutal feeling that you knew at the beginning. I knew since it was
Yeah.
Vocation, Mortician, Crypt also always be brutal with a lot of feeling, but now
Yeah.
there's a lot of technical without life.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Um, here's the thing. Again, we were too late. We were writing stuff that people weren't prepared for when we wrote it. So that's why we never got to where I guess we should have been in death metal or just the scene in general. We didn't get to that tier because a lot of people would always say, you guys are cool, but I can't understand what you're playing. And now technical is all over the place, and bands that are copying other bands are more popular than the bands that originated that sound, which kills me. It happens so much. I can't stand that. I've seen that in the scene so many times where I'm like, wait a minute, that band sounds like DRI, and why are they more important right now when DRI made that sound, not them? And young kids don't know that. They're just like, this band rules. No, they don't. They're copying another band, and I hate that shit. That shit pisses me off when I see bands that don't deserve to be held up in such high esteem when they did nothing but copy another band. Take their sound, take their style, take their tone a lot of
Yeah.
times. And it's like, holy shit, how does nobody see this? But it sells because those other bands ruled, and now you got these followers that do it up, and there you go.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I understand. I
I mean,
understand.
the new technical sound, I understand. I know what you mean. I want that brutality in there too, but they're just following their own path, and I understand. I respect a lot of that stuff. I get it. Because when we were coming up, we were just doing what we wanted. We did
Yeah,
not care about a formula and we got to make the fans happy. We have to have a slam part here. No, I never cared about that. And we didn't call it that then. We called it mosh part or the breakdown. We didn't call it slam. Now it's a form of death metal, which is just like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
okay, whatever, dude. I don't care. But for me, we just wanted different parts. Oh, I play this part. It's the thrash part. And then, because we all love thrash. We grew up on thrash. We grew up on metal. We grew up on rock and roll. So we took a lot of those elements and tried to just heavy it up and make it, you know, cool and sick to us. We were teenagers in our early 20s and stuff, and just writing the coolest shit we could come up with is really that's it. And kids today are doing that same thing. But
Mm.
the problem with them is that they're pulling their influence from Cannibal Corpse and not, Black Sabbath or something like that. You know what I mean? So they're grabbing influences from death metal instead of from other music
Yeah.
types, other styles, and that's why a lot of shit sounds the same, and it's just a revisit of stuff that's already been done a million times before. And it gets dry. It gets
Yeah.
dry.
Yes, yes, I understood clearly, very clear this. So returning to Discontinued and its promotion plan, what are the promotions plans you have for this album? Tours, concerts, perhaps videos, who knows?
Well, we have no budget for a video, and I don't care about videos. I never did. You know, I mean, yeah, if we could do one, sure. But the album's already out, and it's like now we're gonna go and try to shoot a video for like 4 grand for what? I don't know. To me, it's pointless. Where MTV doesn't exist anymore. At least it doesn't exist for music videos, and YouTube is the new MTV, I guess. I don't know. We have a couple videos, and that's it. And I mean, listen, if we have a budget and we can do it, sure. But I always found videos to be silly. I like live videos where we're actually on stage playing, not in a studio somewhere, you know, with somebody in a costume and trying to have like this whole theme. It's like, yeah, it's not Hollywood. Get out of here. You know what I mean? So that's just me. I'm sure Ron would love to do a video because he loves to do everything. I'm the pain in the ass old man that doesn't give a shit anymore. I just want to put the music out. That's it. The music is more important to me. Um, as far as shows, yeah, we got shows and festivals lined up. Touring's a little tough because we don't make enough money on tour, and for me that sucks because I have a full-time job and I don't have vacation time where I could take a month off and go tour. So I'm kind of the asshole that's causing the band to not tour much because of my schedule. Because
Mm.
I got to pay my rent and make sure there's food in the refrigerator. That's more important to me than going to tour around the world because I just don't have it like that anymore. I used to be able to do that kind of stuff, but now the offer's got to be really good and we got to go out with great bands. Like our tour with Defeated Sanity, best tour we ever did. Amazing. I mean, the
Yeah.
fans were so sick. We sold out of merch 3 times. It was amazing. It was the best time. And plus Defeated Sanity are good friends of ours, so it was great to finally do more than one show with them. We've played with them many times, but at a festival or a show in Germany or something, they would be on it. And that's it. So it's like, yeah, we get to party with them one night and then that's it. This time we had like 2.5 weeks in the States, so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I
Awesome.
thought we got offered another tour to do with them in Europe later this year, but I just can't do it, man. It's just for me personally, I just can't. I told Ronnie about, hey, dude, you want to get another singer in there and do that? And he's like, no, because there's nobody like you. I don't really want to do that. But I told him if he wanted to, go for it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to hold the band back because I can't tour, as
Mhm.
much. And that's my thing. That's why I think Ron joined Pyrexia so that he could play more shows because he
Mm.
has endorsements. That's one of the things with an endorsement. You have to play a certain amount of shows or they drop you
Mhm.
and you won't get free stuff anymore or discounted stuff, which sucks. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So he's got to do
Okay.
more shows. And plus, Pyrexia, we've been friends with those guys for many, many years. So him doing that is just perfect because we don't live far from each other and it's perfect for him. It's great.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. So we are very close to finish this interview, Danny, and I'm talking about other kind of topics. Usually, talking about a special one topic, a topic that changed the perspective of the understanding of metal worldwide. It is the social networks. So, as you know, today, thanks to this media, metal became more understandable and comprehensible for a lot of people, and even lost that sense of impact, fear, or mystery that it had during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. When you talk about brujeria, and
Hmm.
you, I remember very well. I believe that they were narco
Criminals. Yeah.
narco satanic people. Really, I believe
Uh-huh.
when you
Yep.
talk on when or talking about King Diamond was
Hmm.
thinking that he lived in the castle with demons, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or Bruce
Uh,
Dickinson writing lyrics, the only bother conservative people at 666 the number of the beast, just
yeah.
piece of someone there. Or ideas of satanism by the black metal in the 90s. I remember a lot.
Yep.
Now, there is no mystery of curiosity that the metal gave you on a general level. So, what
Yeah.
is your point of view about this move away from the fear, mystery, or curiosity that the metal had before, and now everything is comprehensible because Satan is church. You want to use red hair. There's a lot of people that after you they will use red hair. So
Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
tendencies or how to paint corpse paint like black metal on YouTube.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, dude. It's funny. I see that, and the thing with me is I feel that kids today don't really understand what it's like to not have everything at their fingertips. Everything is at the fingertips. Everything is so easy to get. You play a video or a song on YouTube, they give you, hey, if you like this band, you might like this band. They give you everything. Everything is spoon-fed. Everything. Back in the day, you had to search out stuff. You either found out by friends, you saw a concert, you read a magazine, you traded
Mm.
with a friend.
Yeah.
It was more like it was so much more intense because you were like, Joe, I just bought this demo from this band that's from Sweden and I can't wait to get it. And you got to wait like a month and a half until it comes because back then, even now, it takes forever. But it was just like, holy shit, the anticipation of getting this demo and finally hearing it because people were like, "Oh, it's great, you should get it," and maybe you didn't hear it yet. So they don't listen to music the same anymore. Everything is digital. Everything is just cold and digital. And I grew up listening to vinyls. So, for me, part of the experience and why I remember releases that I grew up on so much is from listening to them in my living room with headphones on with the album in front of me and staring at that album cover and then flipping it and staring at those ugly guys that play the instruments in the band and then pulling out the sheet and reading along with the lyrics and just like, oh, this is so sick. And I think you get in touch with the band when you read along with the lyrics and then when the lead is coming. It's like it's imprinted in your brain. Now it's just like quick fixes, endorphin pumps, and then it's over. Kids today don't get the concept. I'm sure a lot do, but there are some that really don't. And I wish that they could go back to when we grew up and experience how hard it was to just find an album, especially in other countries. Like in America, it was easy. We had an import section from European bands and bands from South America. So it was not that difficult. You could just order it. Where I have a buddy from Mexico that told me there was like two great record stores and they would get everything in and he would buy everything. But there are other stores that wouldn't carry it and he couldn't order it. So there was like a couple of guys that would just bring metal to his area and he loves them for that. And I love our local record stores too for that because, you go in to buy, let's say, I don't know, the new Creator. And then they're like, yo, did you hear this? And we just got this in. You want to check it out? And they pop it on and you can hear it. Oh, I want to take that too. So it's not like that. Everything you don't even go to a store to buy records anymore. You buy it at a merch table at a show or at a distro. That's it. I mean, I do you go to FYE, which is a store here that just has music and other stuff and toys, but are they going to have the new Malignancy? Probably not. They might have the new Cannibal Corpse, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it's the landscape has changed with music, and that's why with the streaming and everything, it's really changed a lot. It's brought a lot of attention to metal. I'll tell you that because metal, you would think that metal should have died a long time ago because there's only so many fucking scales on a fret. There's only so much that you could do with a guitar and a drum and a vocal, but
Mhm.
it's still going strong. And I think the internet plays a big part in that. It's
Mm.
super, it's very important to bands now, I think, to get to the status that they need to. Like, we've gotten more attention for this record than in a few days
Mm.
than we have and on any other record.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, and it's because that's what the climate looks like now. This is what you got to do to get your album out to as many people as possible. And they still buy the vinyl. I mean, that's great, but I don't know if they listen to it or they just put it on their wall with a nice color, you know.
Yeah.
Like, no, buy a black one, but nobody wants to press black vinyls because they're not cool enough. They
Yeah.
they want swirlies and blues and listen, they look great, but they sound like shit.
Yeah.
These kids don't know that. Black vinyl, solid vinyl is what sounds the best. But again, they don't know. We gotta tell them, Javier.
Well, Danny, we come to the side time of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this interview as I did,
I did, brother.
and thank you very much for your time. This continues as a tremendous album from the band. As I mentioned, I hear the band since the beginning because I
Thank you,
love
brother.
the music since the beginning. So maybe you have something to add to your Latin fans and obviously
I
Metallica
hope so.
followers.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Well, thank you again for the great review. I appreciate all your words about it, and I appreciate this interview. And if you need any extra questions answered, send them to me, and I'll answer them through email. It's up to you, no problem. If you have anything else, even if you just want to talk about nothing, it's all right with me. I
Awesome.
always look forward to meeting new fans and new friends in other countries because we never played Peru, and hopefully someday we will.